These should be the best days of a teenager's life. After all, they live in America, certainly the most blessed and free country in the world. And furthermore, it is Christmas and the holiday season. There's no school, there's a lot of shopping at the mall or online, secret Santas, and Christmas parties every week for a month. What could beat that? Listen, even though these should be the greatest days of a teenager's life, take a look around us. The youth of the 21st century have been born into terror, financial disaster, the breakup of the family, a lack of media censorship and control, an unrealistic comparison culture of social media, a divided government, a sexual revolution that has crashed on the shores of this nation, and a global health pandemic in the last 2 years. Finally, the youth of today have lost their moral center of their theological faith that guides their worldview and how they see the world and ultimately even their lifestyle. And when you lose that moral fabric of a person, their theological worldview, and all of those things happen, then how do they cope? Vladimir Lenin said in his book, How to Destroy the West, get them to move away from religion, increase their interest in sex, make them focus more on sports, sensual entertainment, trivialities. By certain arguments, cause the breakdown of the old moral virtues like honesty and sobriety and self-restraint. That was Vladimir Lenin in 1921 in his little article, How to Destroy the West. If you look at our country right now, we are doing a pretty good job of fulfilling that tragic prophetic statement. Joy to the world? How can our present reality line up with this popular Christmas hymn? You would think that Christmas and the holiday season would be a joyful time of the year for teenagers. But all of the statistics prove just the opposite. The National Alliance in Mental Illness, NAMI, found that 64% of people agreed that the holiday season brought them greater stress and depression, increased mental health issues, 64%, rather than joy to the world. And yet these should be the best days of a teenager's life, right? Maybe a teenager or a young person will not get the present they wanted, or maybe they don't get to spend as much time, they don't want to spend as much time with their broken family, or maybe they're comparing their lowlights with the highlights of their friends on the socials. Or maybe a teenager is separated from their classmates and the structure of the school day, and they're really missing that because their home is disintegrated. We must place the focus of the holidays where it belongs, the real meaning of Christmas. Christmas and the holidays are about the celebration of Christ, the Messiah, who came to bring salvation to the world from their sin, who came to bring hope and joy and peace. Christmas and the holidays are about family and giving and rest. Keeping that in focus and not getting caught up in the commercialization of Christmas and the holidays can be a great step to positive mental health during this season. Listen, I know that depression and mental health is multifaceted, and there are many solutions, many causes and solutions. Look at relationships and community building and the identity and purpose that we have in our life. Or total wellness like sleep and diet and exercise, counseling and therapy, all of that works. But the greatest solution is the spiritual formation of a person. Let's take a look at 5 ways that we can help young people navigate their total health wellness, and specifically mental health and depression during the holidays and this Christmas season here. Number 1, recognizing that depression is serious. Our emotions and mindset are critical to our health. Taking care of our mind is one of the most important gifts we can give ourselves. Of course, we need to balance our emotions, but depression goes far beyond our mindset. We will look at that in the following points also. Listen, depression is exhausting and can lead to a lot of other issues, right? Like skin problems and heart disease and high blood pressure and weight gain or loss or sleeplessness or hair loss and organ dysfunction, isolation and social relational fear. And when our health fails, everything else in our lives can come crashing down too. That's why it is so important to take care of our mind, to do brain training every week. For example, we must stop running our life by our feelings and focus on the facts and our faith. Teenagers and young people, actually adults do this pretty well too, have a tendency to place their problem right in front of their eyes and make as we say, a mountain out of a molehill. It's perspective, right? Something like a poor grade on a test or a broken relationship, not getting the right present, at Christmas can seem at the time insurmountable in the moment. But the right perspective can place those kind of things into a better setting in our life, into a better reality in our life. If we could change our perspective, we can change our feelings and ultimately our mindset. And when our mindset is healthy, our lifestyle follows. One of the helpful ideas to assist teenagers through difficult times is when parents can create a solutions list and not just a problems list, right? Sometimes it's easy to fill that problems list up, but this solutions list can help us to see that we can solve problems and concerns that come our way, right? So number one, depression is serious. Number two, depression can be physiological in nature. Now, stay with me. A person can become overcome by poor total health, wellness, and become physically exhausted from a lack of sleep, a bad diet, no exercise or recreation. And there is a wellness deprivation. Listen, when there is a wellness deprivation in our society, it compounds the problems like depression among young people. One of the most overlooked solutions is sleep, diet, and exercise to take care of our bodies. The physiological impact is it's insurmountable in our minds. For example, how about the Sabbath and rest? The busyness of the holidays can become more business, right? More busyness than business. And that's unhealthy. The Sabbath is a commandment. And yet as young people, there's this pressure to always be productive, to always be publishers, this busyness. Listen, busyness is not production. Okay? I love the wisdom from the scriptures about the importance of our total wellness and especially rest. And the Sabbath. Listen, they're commands. The Sabbath is a command, not a suggestion. Exodus 20 says this: remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, for the Lord blesses the rest. Psalm 46:10 says, be still. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a nap. Yeah, okay, hey. Number three, way to help teenagers through depression and the holidays is to understand that depression is a spiritual issue also. A lack of identity causes unfulfillment in our life. And purpose is powerful. And when it is lost, it is devastating to our psyche. The negativity that follows a lack of identity can be fatal. When somebody gets they get in a funk. Listen, in a recent Barna research on generational sets and what they identify as value, Gen Z identified personal talents as value more than any other generational set. And what this tells me is that if a teenager loses the importance of their innate and born talents, they lose their value. So we must help teenagers see the importance, the spiritual importance of their creation and how God has gifted them into the design of life and their role in building the kingdom of God, that important place of why am I here? Let me say something to parents. The first place a teenager finds purpose is in the home. Parents must value the personal time with their children to help shape their identity. The words that you speak over your children are life or death. The declarations that you speak to them in everyday life set the course of their day and ultimately their life. What are we speaking into the life of our children? Our children will walk out of the home. Hear me, listen. Our children will walk out of the home and be able to handle anything that comes their way if we have set them up with the purpose of God for their life. Purpose is powerful. Listen, when we speak purpose into our children, they will be able to stand against peer pressure, the temptations that come their way, the godless culture that contaminates them with comparison, right? It starts in the home. All right, hey, number 4, depression can be influenced by relational issues. Think about that. Relationships are central to our mental health. At Christmas and the holidays, you would think that being with family and friends is a safe place. For many reasons, the circle of our family and friends that we choose creates healthy interaction and stress management, right? That crew, that posse that you have around you brings stress management. And depression can be driven by isolation, or it can be solved by relationship and community. When our relationships are not healthy, we lose this primary coping mechanism to manage our mental health. The added pressure of having the perfect holiday is unrealistic. Having the perfect life is unrealistic. And so these relationships can help us with stress management and help us work at a higher level of coping with our issues and the problems that come into our life. Teenagers and young people must fight the temptation to escalate their problems by isolating from people, okay? And we have to value this university of relationship around us. Listen, create meaningful community during the holidays with young people, with quality conversation and quality time like family recreation activities such as shopping together, decorating together, baking together, or go sledding or another kind of recreational activity. Finally, let me give you one more help on depression. The fact that depression is curable. I've seen it in the stories of many young people who have found a greater purpose in life through total wellness, mental, physical, spiritual, therapy, relational community. I've watched those kind of things bring motivation when it's gone and you're numb. I've seen the resources, all of the resources around you, bring rational and hope rather than irrational hopelessness. Depression is curable. Find another person who has conquered depression and speak with them. It may shock you how easy it is to listen to a success story of someone else who has overcome depression and anxiety. Hope is a powerful thing. Story is a powerful healing agent. Simply by putting these practices into place, you will see great improvement in the area of depression and anxiety and purpose and joy. Total health wellness is revolutionary to our person. Okay, all of these things. Listen, joy to the world doesn't have to be a meaningless Christmas hymn or a far-fetched dream. If we do just a few simple things, we can make depression amongst our teenagers and young people at Christmas time be an afterthought. Right? Think about that. Total wellness. Because these really should be the best days of a teenager's life. Hey, thanks again for joining us at Youthology Live. You know where to find us. Go to the socials. Look us up on the link tree where you can watch us. You can read this. You can listen to us on the iTunes podcast. Listen, find us wherever you can on the socials. Hit that link tree. And we'll be back next week with another topic in youth leadership.